What is justice? Not what the law says, not what society rewards, but what justice truly is. This question, simple on its surface, has disturbed human thought for over 2,000 years. It is the question that opens Plato's The Republic, and it is the question that quietly dismantles everything we think we know about morality, power, and truth. Plato does not answer this question directly. Instead, he leads us into a conversation so carefully constructed that we arrive at the answer ourselves, often unwillingly. At the center of this conversation stands Socrates, not as a preacher, not as a ruler, but as a relentless examiner of belief. He does not tell people they are wrong, he allows them to discover it. And that discovery is never comfortable. The discussion begins casually, almost harmlessly. Justice, someone suggests, is telling the truth and paying what you owe. Socrates pauses. He asks for a simple follow-up. What if returning what you owe would cause harm? What if you borrowed a weapon from a friend who later lost his mind? Would justice require returning it? The answer collapses. Another voice speaks. Justice is helping friends and harming enemies. Socrates asks again. What if your friends are unjust? What if your enemies are good people? Does justice change based on loyalty? Again, silence. The room grows tense. The problem is no longer abstract. Something deeper is happening. Socrates is exposing a terrifying truth. Most people do not know what justice is. They know only what they have been told. At this point, a powerful figure enters the discussion, Thrasymachus. He is angry, confident, certain. Justice, he declares, is nothing more than the advantage of the stronger. Those in power create laws to benefit themselves. Obedience is praised as justice. Disobedience is punished as injustice. This idea feels brutal, but it also feels honest. Socrates does not immediately refute it. Instead, he examines it carefully. If rulers sometimes make mistakes, he asks, do they always know what benefits them? And if they make laws that harm their own interests, does justice then require harming the strong? Thrasymachus grows frustrated. Because Socrates has revealed something dangerous. Power does not equal wisdom, and strength does not equal moral truth. Now the conversation changes direction. Socrates proposes something unexpected. Instead of continuing to argue over definitions, let us imagine justice in a city. Because justice, he says, is easier to see when written in large letters. So they begin. They imagine a city formed from necessity. People gather because no one is self-sufficient. Each person contributes what they do best. The farmer grows food. The builder builds homes. The weaver makes clothing. The city is efficient, balanced, calm, and just. But then comes the objection. This city has no pleasure, no art, no luxury, no indulgence. It is a city of survival, not desire. So Socrates allows desire to enter. The city grows richer, softer, more complex. And immediately new problems appear. Desire demands more land, more resources, more power, and conflict becomes unavoidable. To protect the city, a guardian class is created. But Plato is careful here. These guardians must not become tyrants. They must be strong but not cruel, disciplined but not corrupt. Their education is everything. They are trained not only in physical strength, but in character. Music and poetry shape their souls, gymnastics shape their bodies. Yet even here Plato warns us. Not all stories are allowed. Some poetry is dangerous. Stories that glorify excess emotion, cowardice, or injustice are removed. Because what we consume shapes who we become. This idea should unsettle us. Who decides which stories are dangerous? And who decides what kind of person society should produce? To preserve unity, Socrates introduces the noble lie, a foundational myth. Citizens are told they are born with different metals in their souls. Gold souls are suited to rule, silver souls to defend, bronze and iron souls to labor. This belief keeps the city stable. People accept their place. But Socrates admits the truth. It is a lie. And yet, he argues, it is a lie told for harmony. Here, Plato forces us to confront a moral dilemma that still exists today. Is social order worth deception? And if stability requires illusion, is truth a luxury only philosophers can afford? At this point, Plato shifts inward again. The city, he explains, mirrors the soul. Just as the city has rulers, guardians, and workers, the soul has reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason seeks truth. Spirit seeks honor. Appetite seeks pleasure. Justice occurs when reason rules, spirit supports it, and appetite obeys. Injustice occurs when desire takes control. This is not only a personal problem, it is a political one, because societies, like souls, can be ruled by appetite. Plato now examines different political systems as expressions of the soul. Aristocracy is ruled by reason. Timocracy is ruled by honor. Oligarchy is ruled by wealth. Democracy is ruled by desire. Tyranny is desire unleashed completely. Democracy, he argues, begins with freedom, but freedom without discipline becomes chaos. People pursue whatever they want. Authority dissolves. Expertise is mocked. Wisdom is ignored. Eventually, fear replaces freedom, and from fear a tyrant emerges. The tyrant promises order, but delivers slavery. The tyrant, Plato explains, is the most miserable of all. He is consumed by fear, surrounded by enemies, trusted by no one. Though he commands others, he cannot command himself. This is Plato's final warning about power. The worst ruler is not the cruelest, it is the most uncontrolled. Then comes the cave. Prisoners chained from birth. Shadows mistaken for reality. Truth rejected when revealed. The allegory is not subtle. Most people live in illusion. Education is liberation, and enlightenment is dangerous. Those who see clearly threaten those who do not, and society often punishes those who tell the truth. Plato's solution is philosopher kings, rulers who love wisdom more than power. But philosophers do not seek authority. They must be compelled to rule for the good of all. And here, Plato leaves us uneasy, because the perfect system depends on people who may never exist. This is where the Republic becomes timeless. It does not tell us how to build a perfect society. It asks whether perfection is even possible, and whether truth, once discovered, can survive in a world that fears it. Education, Plato insists, is the most powerful force in any society. Not armies, not laws, not wealth. Education shapes the soul before the soul ever knows it is being shaped. This is why Plato spends so much time describing how the guardians are raised. What they hear as children matters. What stories they absorb matters. What they see praised and punished matters. Because the soul learns long before reason awakens. If children grow up hearing stories that glorify injustice, they will admire injustice. If they hear stories that portray the gods as cruel, dishonest, or weak, they will imitate those traits. The imagination, Plato argues, is not harmless. It is formative. And so certain poetry must be removed. This idea shocks modern readers. How could a philosopher, who loved wisdom and beauty, support censorship? Plato's answer is unsettling. Because most people, he believes, never reach philosophical understanding. They live by imitation, habit, and emotion. Stories do not merely entertain them. Stories teach them how to feel, what to admire, and what to fear. And unchecked emotion, Plato warns, destabilizes the soul. Tragedy trains people to indulge grief. Comedy trains people to indulge mockery. Epic poetry glorifies passion over reason. In Plato's ideal city, art must serve truth, not pleasure. This forces us to confront a difficult question. Is freedom of expression more important than the moral character of a society? Plato does not answer gently. From education, Plato moves to knowledge itself. Not all knowledge, he explains, is equal. Some knowledge deals with appearances. Some knowledge deals with truth. To explain this, Plato introduces the divided line. At the lowest level is imagination, shadows, reflections, illusions. Above that is belief, physical objects we see and touch. Above that is thought, mathematics and reasoning. At the highest level is understanding, knowledge of what truly is. Most people, Plato argues, never rise above belief. They trust what they see, they trust what they are told, they trust consensus. But truth does not live at the level of appearances. Truth requires assent, and assent is painful. This brings Plato to the form of the good. The good is not simply something good, it is the source of all goodness. Just as the sun allows the eye to see, the good allows the mind to know. Without it, knowledge is impossible. Without it, truth has no foundation. But the good cannot be seen directly. It must be approached slowly, carefully, through discipline and reasoning. This is why philosophers are uniquely suited to rule. They are trained to turn the soul away from shadows and toward reality. They do not chase pleasure. They do not worship power. They do not fear truth. But this does not make them popular. Plato understands something deeply human. People resist those who challenge their worldview. When philosophers speak of unseen truths, they are dismissed as impractical. When they criticize popular beliefs, they are labeled dangerous. When they refuse to flatter the masses, they are ignored. Socrates himself is proof. He questioned Athens, and Athens killed him. This is why Plato insists philosophers must rule, not because they desire power, but because without them power will be abused. Still, Plato knows the danger. If philosophy is misunderstood, it can become arrogance. If rulers claim wisdom without possessing it, tyranny follows. So philosopher kings must be tested relentlessly. They must resist temptation. They must endure hardship. They must value truth above comfort. Only then are they fit to govern. From politics, Plato returns again to the soul. He describes the psychological descent from democracy to tyranny. At first, the democratic soul values freedom. It resists authority. It celebrates equality. Every desire is treated as equal to every other. But soon, discipline disappears. Reason loses authority. Impulse takes over. Excess becomes normal. Eventually, the soul fractures. Fear grows. And in that fear, one desire becomes dominant: control. This is how the tyrannical soul is born. The tyrant is ruled by obsession. He trusts no one. He fears everyone. He must dominate because he cannot restrain himself. Outwardly, he appears powerful. Inwardly, he is enslaved. Plato's conclusion is devastating. The unjust life, no matter how successful it appears, is miserable. Justice is not about reputation. It is about inner harmony. Then Plato returns to the cave. This time the allegory deepens. The cave is not just ignorance, it is comfort. The prisoners have routines. They have shared beliefs. They have social approval. The freed prisoner threatens all of that. When he returns, he does not bring entertainment. He brings disruption. And disruption is dangerous. This is why societies resist enlightenment. Truth destabilizes systems built on illusion. Plato is warning us. The greatest threat to injustice is not rebellion. It is understanding. Now, as the Republic nears its end, Plato introduces one final story. A myth. The myth of Ur. Ur is a soldier who dies in battle and returns to life. He describes what he saw beyond death. Souls are judged. The just are rewarded. The unjust are punished. But the most important moment comes later. Souls are given the chance to choose their next lives. Some choose wealth. Some choose power. Some choose beauty. And many choose badly. Even souls who were once virtuous fall into arrogance. Only those guided by wisdom choose lives of balance. The lesson is clear. Justice is not about reward or punishment. It is about knowledge. Without understanding, even good people fall. Plato ends the Republic without final certainty. There is no declaration that the ideal city will ever exist. No claim that philosopher kings will rule the world. Instead, Plato leaves us with a responsibility: to examine ourselves, to discipline our desires, to seek truth even when it is uncomfortable. Because the greatest danger is not injustice imposed from above, it is injustice accepted within. The Republic is not a book about ancient Greece. It is a warning. It asks us whether we live in the cave, whether we mistake shadows for truth, whether we prefer comfort to understanding, and whether, if given the chance, we would choose wisdom or power. Plato now turns fully inward. By this point in the Republic, the city is no longer the focus. It has served its purpose. It was never meant to exist in stone and law. It was meant to reveal something far more personal: the soul. Plato wants us to understand that justice is not enforced from the outside. It is cultivated within. A person can obey every law and still be unjust. A person can appear moral and still live in disorder. Justice is not behavior. Justice is structure. A just soul is one where reason governs, spirit defends reason, and desire obeys both. This harmony produces peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the absence of inner war. An unjust soul is divided. It is pulled in opposing directions. It is ruled by impulse one moment and regret the next. It may chase pleasure, wealth, or power, but it never rests. Plato's claim is radical. The just life is happier than the unjust life, regardless of external success. This directly challenges one of humanity's oldest assumptions, that happiness comes from getting what you want. Plato says the opposite. Happiness comes from wanting what is right. To make this clearer, Plato imagines extreme cases. On one side is the perfectly just person. He may be poor, He may be misunderstood. He may even be punished for his integrity. On the other side is the perfectly unjust person. He is wealthy, admired, feared. He commits injustice so skillfully that he is never caught. Which life is better? Most people, Plato observes, choose the unjust life, at least in theory. They assume that injustice, if hidden, is profitable. But Plato insists this is an illusion. The unjust person lives in constant fear. He must lie to others and to himself. He cannot trust friendship because his relationships are built on manipulation. He cannot rest because his desires are endless. The just person, though externally vulnerable, is internally whole. This is Plato's most dangerous idea. That justice is not a sacrifice. It is a form of freedom. Plato knows this argument will not convince everyone, so he returns once more to the language of myth. The myth of is not meant to be taken literally. It is meant to reveal truth symbolically. Witnesses souls traveling upward and downward, rewarded or punished for their lives. But what matters most is not judgment, it is choice. After their rewards or punishments, souls are presented with new lives to choose from. They are warned that the choice is their responsibility. No one assigns their fate, they choose it. Some souls rush toward power, blinded by ambition. Others choose beauty, wealth, or fame. Many fail to examine the lives they select. Only a few choose carefully. Only a few understand that external success does not guarantee internal peace. The lesson is unmistakable. Without wisdom, freedom leads to disaster. Plato ends the Republic by returning to the reader, not to instruct, but to challenge. He has shown us a city that cannot exist, a ruler who is unlikely to rule, and a society that depends on extraordinary virtue. And this is intentional, because the true Republic is not a place, it is a standard, a lens through which to examine ourselves. Plato is not asking whether we can build a perfect society. He is asking whether we can build a just soul. Throughout the Republic, Plato warns us about appearances. Power looks desirable, freedom looks harmless, pleasure looks fulfilling, but appearances deceive. The tyrant appears powerful, but lives in fear. The free-for-all society appears joyful, but collapses into chaos. Pleasure appears satisfying, but never satisfies. Truth, by contrast, is quiet. It does not flatter, it does not entertain, it demands effort, and most people turn away from it. This is why the allegory of the cave remains timeless. The cave is not ignorance alone, it is agreement. The prisoners reinforce one another's illusions, they reward conformity, they punish deviation. The freed prisoner is not hated because he is wrong, he is hated because he is different, because his existence threatens the shared fantasy. Plato is telling us something uncomfortable. Society often prefers lies that unite over truths that divide. At the end of the Republic, Plato does not tell us what to believe. He tells us what to do. Examine your desires. Question your assumptions. Do not confuse popularity with truth. Do not confuse power with wisdom. And above all, do not mistake shadows for reality, because once you recognize the cave, you can never unsee it. And once you leave it, returning is dangerous, but necessary. The Republic endures because it does not age. Empires fall, governments change, technologies evolve, but human nature remains. We still crave comfort, we still fear truth, we still reward appearance over understanding. Plato wrote for a future he would never see, and that future is us. Plato understands something few thinkers are willing to admit. Human beings do not naturally seek truth. They seek reassurance, they seek validation, they seek belonging, they seek comfort. Truth often threatens all three. This is why the philosopher's path is lonely, not because philosophers are superior, but because they are willing to endure uncertainty. They are willing to sit with questions that have no immediate answers. They are willing to admit ignorance. And this humility, Plato suggests, is the beginning of wisdom. Throughout the Republic, Plato returns again and again to one idea. Order is not imposed, it is cultivated. A society cannot be just if its people are unjust, and people cannot be just if they are ruled by impulse, fear, or unchecked desire. Laws can restrain behavior, punishment can deter crime, but only education can shape character. This is why Plato places such extraordinary emphasis on early formation. By the time reason awakens, the soul has already been shaped. Habits are formed, desires are entrenched. Education, then, is not about information, it is about orientation. What does the soul turn toward? Pleasure? Power? Truth? Plato's critics often accuse him of being authoritarian. They point to censorship, rigid social rules, and philosopher rulers as evidence. But Plato is not obsessed with control. He is obsessed with alignment. Alignment between desire and reason. Alignment between individual and society. Alignment between appearance and reality. When alignment fails, injustice grows. And injustice, Plato warns, does not announce itself loudly. It disguises itself as freedom, as opportunity, as success. This is why Plato is deeply suspicious of rhetoric. Words can persuade without truth. They can inflame emotion without understanding. They can create belief without knowledge. The greatest danger is not ignorance, it is confident ignorance. When people believe they know what they do not understand, they become impossible to teach. This is the true enemy of philosophy. Plato's solution is not withdrawal from society, it is responsibility. Those who see clearly must guide those who do not, even when they are mocked, even when they are resisted, even when they are misunderstood. This is why philosophers must return to the cave, not because it is safe, but because it is necessary. As the Republic closes, Plato does something subtle. He does not demand agreement, he invites reflection. He knows his vision is imperfect. He knows his ideal city may never exist. He knows philosopher kings may remain a fantasy. But the value of the Republic is not in its conclusions, it is in its questions. What do we value? Who should rule? What is justice really for? And what kind of people do our systems produce? These questions do not expire. Plato leaves us with a final challenge. If justice is truly good for the soul, then it must be chosen even when it is costly, even when it brings no reward, even when it brings suffering. Because a life ruled by reason is not a guarantee of happiness, it is a guarantee of integrity. And integrity, Plato argues, is the foundation of a meaningful life. The cave still exists. It exists wherever appearances are mistaken for truth, where popularity replaces wisdom, where comfort replaces understanding. Leaving the cave is difficult. Remaining outside it is painful. Returning to it is dangerous. But Plato insists it is the highest duty of those who know. The Republic does not promise a perfect world. It offers something far more valuable, a way to see. And once you see clearly, you are no longer free to live blindly. That is the price of philosophy, and also its reward.